Out of time. I'd like to call, so we have a number of people who are still opponents to the legislation. Okay, why don't you all come up together, those of you? I'm going to give you each just 1 minute because we just don't have a lot of time. We have another bill to discuss as well.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairs and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify here today. My name is Diana Dimitri-Curtin, and I am here to oppose Bill H-140. I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker here in Massachusetts. I received my Master's of Social Work from Boston College in '97 and was subsequently independently licensed. I have held positions in inpatient psychiatric facilities, partial hospitalization programs, and have been a clinician in various outpatient settings serving adolescent and adult populations. According to the NASW Code of Ethics, as a social worker, I must, quote, treat each person in a caring and respectful fashion, mindful of individual differences and cultural and ethnic diversity. Social workers must promote a client's socially responsible self-determination. Those are the words that I would like to focus on, self-determination, and engage people as partners in the helping process, end quote. I am proud to say that I have done my best to adhere to these principles in each and every client interaction I've had. I'm not going to read the rest of this that I prepared since I only... Yes, I would love to do that. But I guess I just sit here confused because my adult life has been dedicated to helping people. And I am pro-human being. I am not anti-anything. But this idea of conversion or coercive therapy, in my 20 years of being in this state, I have never known anyone to do these things to children. And I agree with you that if there is child abuse going on, my gosh, I am the first one to say, throw these people in jail and throw away the key. I am not advocating for child abuse, and I don't think that there's anybody in this room that is pro-child abuse. So we hear people stand up here passionately against child abuse. Well, yeah, I'm against child abuse too. I just don't want somebody telling me what I can say and handcuffing my free speech in the setting of my office. I want to meet with a client, and I want to follow the path of where they want to go. So as a clinician and a mother, I oppose this bill. I think it's terrifying. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is John Cho. My wife and I are residents of Hyde Park, just ordinary citizens. I greatly appreciate all the different stories that were shared today and all the brave people on both sides that shared their personal stories of trauma and hurt, and I'm deeply grieved by those stories. I think one thing that because my opinion as an ordinary citizen is, given our political climate today in America, I think it's very important that we consider opposition's points of view despite party lines and cultural assumptions. And so, one thing that I really appreciate by the more progressive side is that they really emphasize listening to everyone's stories. And what I ask is that we all here today also recognize that there are stories of people that have changed or have said to experience change in their sexual orientation and gender identity, and they found that to be healing to them, and I do not think we can reject their stories. And the one last thing I'll say is that my wife and I are DCF foster parents, and we deal with youth that have experienced abuse and trauma in so many just heinous and grievous ways, and I do not think that change efforts necessarily constitute examples of abuse in line with human trafficking and exploitation and sexual and physical abuse. And so Bill S-70, especially in Section 2, that part, just as an ordinary citizen, that does not make sense to me at all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Tim, and I testified here 2 years ago, and it's on YouTube if anybody wanted to see that. But I wanted to read Thomas Jefferson quote: "If you can't protect the rights of conscience as an inalienable right, then everything below that the government is going to regulate as well." And I look at this as a regulation of people's conscience and an overreach of parental rights, of training up a child in the way they should go, which is a verse from the Bible, which would infringe on a First Amendment right. the parents are trying to do their best and they have the kids' best interest at heart. If they seek out counseling, it's a counsel of their choice. They should do due diligence to make sure what's going on in that counseling session isn't harmful, like some of the people that I heard last time I was here went through horrific things. That's terrible. Nobody wants to see that happen. But I went through years of pain through my adolescence after being molested as a young kid. And I sought peace through drugs and alcohol. And there's kids out there that need to be able to have someone to talk to, because the suicide rates are outrageous. And it's not because they told somebody about it. I heard somebody say earlier, when you tell your parents and they get rejection, that's what puts them into despair and depression. That's not. You're dealing with your own conscience. You're dealing with self-hatred. You're dealing with a lot of issues that need to be talked out with a professional. And I wish I had that when I was a kid. And you shouldn't deny people that right. It's a right. And it's an overreaching government regulating conscience.
Thank you. Could you just state your name again?
My name is Tim Nee.
Tim Nee.
From Saugus, Mass.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Okay. And I appreciate you all keeping it short, so thank you very much.
Yep. I'm Brenna Kate Simons. I live in Brockton, and I handed out my printed testimony. At barely 15, I found myself sexually attracted to my female best friend. It was 1990. I always like to say 7 years before Ellen DeGeneres came out. As we entered into a physical relationship, I read in a health book that if you are attracted to someone of the same sex, and especially if you act on it, then you are gay. I remember thinking, there it is. I am a homosexual. I was raised in a liberal home, not a religious home at all. My parents were hippies. They were actually at Woodstock. No one ever told me that it was wrong to be gay. I was supported at home, and by college I found support there. I was told the only way to have happiness was to accept myself as a gay person. I had done that, so why did I feel so uneasy? After almost a decade of being gay identified, I went to counseling to address my whole person, and I'm skipping huge chunks here, but my counselor wasn't trying to change my sexual orientation, but she was willing to discuss with me whatever issues and questions I brought to each session. Would that still be allowed if this counseling ban was passed? And I just want to read the very end, if that's okay. I don't sit before you as a straight person. I am still same-sex attracted, though I am married to a man. I am here today because I am looking back 28 years on my 15-year-old self and wondering how my life might have been different if I were offered a different answer, perhaps one that wasn't so black and white. Did I really have to act on my same-sex attraction in order to be happy? Did I really have to act on feelings just because I had them? Or could I have benefited from someone sitting with me with a willingness to listen to my story and walk with me through the healing process, wherever that might lead? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Derrick. I'm a Massachusetts resident. I live in Leicester. I'm the pastor of Greenville Baptist Church. In my responsibilities as a minister, I do counsel with families. I do counsel with teenagers. I am not a licensed counselor. I'm a pastor, and I give them pastoral care. But there are times in which it seems necessary and appropriate for me to refer them to a professional counselor. I fear that Senate Bill 70 would prevent me from recommending a counselor who could help a family or help a young person navigate these difficult life situations from their shared Christian and biblical perspective. Talk therapy with a licensed counselor that seeks to help young people and parents make decisions in keeping with their faith, as my reading of this bill, it would be banned. As a Christian minister who has a passion and responsibility to aid my congregation, it's deeply troubling to me that much needed help for people from a faith perspective would not be available or legal. A faith perspective, I would add, that is not new or radical or obscure, but historical, proven, and widely held. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Dr. Eric Schweitzer, and I've been a licensed psychologist here in Massachusetts since 1988. For the past 30 years, I have directed a network of church-affiliated outpatient counseling centers in southeastern Mass, central Mass, Cape Cod, and Rhode Island, all staffed by licensed therapists. Most of our clients come to us because they seek services in line with the Christian faith that we share with them, although we are happy to receive anyone who comes and work with them as they may desire. Over the years, we've had many clients, both over and under the age of 18, who wrestle with their gender identity, sexual orientation, has been referred to today already as unwanted desires. And we do not, in any way, shape, or form, provide or attempt to provide what's been called conversion therapy and defined as conversion therapy today, we would be very much against that, as everyone here in this room seems to be, rightly so. We do, however, attempt to help people understand the nature of their struggle and what we believe to be larger psychological, spiritual issues that underlie that struggle, and particularly with children, helping them understand a little more clearly what their motives and the dynamics might be that lead them in the direction that they believe they're headed at this time or at the particular time. We don't, again, skipping around, I want to make a point, as the American Psychological and Psychiatric Associations have been referenced earlier today, that both those societies have issued statements in recent years which clearly admit that there are too many variables involved in these cases to definitively assert that biology, neurology, or genetics are the only causative factors. Therefore, we think that children should not be encouraged to freely determine completely on their own what form of gender expression they desire to embrace. That whole notion is based on a fictitious assumption that they are biologically determined to be a certain way.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to stop, but if you would hand in your testimony, we'd
it's over
be
there already.
happy
Thank
to
you.
have that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.